Oh, yeah, right there, lads. We've got to be British here, and you caught us basking in the glory of an arguably complete collection of Sega consoles.
Well, actually.
Yeah, I know. I don't have all of them. I don't have all the variants of the consoles. I definitely don't have an SG-1000. And don't even get us started on all the add-ons for this thing. And wait, who am I talking to?
God, obviously.
What?
For fuck's sake, God, you idiot.
Okay. Well, what do you want?
Payment.
Payment? For what?
Those consoles?
You can bugger off. I got all these consoles myself.
My arse, you did. Do you understand how much effort I put into getting you those consoles?
What do you mean? I bought this myself with my own money.
I made the eBay auctioneers not snipe those games you have at the last second.
Okay, but you're God. Aren't you meant to be all powerful or something?
Yeah, but even then, it still is a challenge to get those twats to stop.
Fair point. Alright then, what do you want from us then?
Simple! A review of every mainline Sonic game.
Are you mental?
Nope! Totally not. Make a video now on every mainline Sonic game, and I'll leave you be.
Okay then. What are you gonna do if I don't?
I'll hand you over to Satan, and trust me, he's a lot harsher.
How can anything be more harsh than this?
Just between you and me. I heard once that he forced another YouTuber to play Sonic Forces.
Oh, bloody hell. Wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna have to do that. And worse.
Stop complaining. Anyways, you're already 2 games in.
Fine. I'll do every mainline Sonic game.
Good. Now I'll just stay up here and watch you suffer for the comfort of heaven. See ya.
Well, I guess I might as well start making good on that promise right now and get on to the next game in the series. Or should I say, the next 2 half games in the series. So in my last 2 videos, I took a look back at the first 2 Sonic games in the series to see if they still stand up. The original, not so much, and Sonic 2, to an extent. But now, since I'm apparently indebted to God to review every one of the mainline Sonic games, I'm just going to go straight on into the 3rd game in the series. Or should I say, next 2 half games. You're probably wondering why I'm referring to these games as half games. Well, the answer to that is relatively simple. After the absolutely huge success that was Sonic 2, Sega wanted the next game in the series to be even more huge. While Sonic CD did come out a year later for the Mega CD, I like to point you towards these fucking prices to explain why I'm not covering that game anytime soon.
But don't you have Sonic CD on Steam?
Yeah, but I just want to play them on original hardware first before giving a proper judgment.
But haven't you used your PC to get all of the gameplay for these videos so far?
Yeah, but again, I just want to play them on original hardware first.
Oh, shut up and just play it on PC, you little nerd.
Alright, I don't really want to be passed up to Satan, so I guess Sonic CD is next. Anyway, since the Mega CD flopped harder than a Magikarp on steroids, Sonic Team more or less just abandoned ship and went back to the Mega Drive. But there was just one slight problem with that. Since the Mega Drive was a cartridge-based system, the storage space on it was obviously quite limited. And it just so happened that the game that they ended up making was just too big for one cartridge. So they came up with a genius idea. They'd release the games as 2. The first half of this game, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, will be released as a standard everyday Mega Drive cartridge. And the second half, Sonic and Knuckles, will be released as a weird abomination with a cartridge input at the top of it. This is where you could insert Sonic 3 cartridges to unlock the full experience, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. This more or less makes Sonic and Knuckles, at least in my mind, the first ever piece of physical DLC. Probably one of the worst things about this game is the fact that it comes in a cardboard box. Now, admittedly this was the gold standard for the industry at the time, but not on the Mega Drive it wasn't. The Mega Drive had these really cool and distinctive black boxes which held the cartridges. You know what, I might as well just take this opportunity to rant about the designs of these boxes throughout the Mega Drive's lifespan. At the start of the Mega Drive's lifespan, the boxes, and indeed the cartridges as well, had these really cool black lined design. This all calls back to the lined design of the Master System cartridges. But for some reason, when the Mega Drive 2 was released, they decided to cast that aside for this garish blue polka dot design. Not only does it just not look as cool in my opinion, but it's infuriating to see in my collection. As small as my collection is, you can just sort of see the clashing of the art styles with the boxes. And, I just hate it. But with that semi-related rant out of the way, let's get into the game. Sonic 3 and Knuckles was, oddly enough, the third entry into the Sonic series, barring CD and the Master System and Game Gear games that had been released prior to this point. So first off, the story. You thought there'd be story in this game, didn't you? Oh my, you never learn. Actually, you're kinda right this time. There are some cutscenes in the game. For example, at the start of the Sonic and Tails story, you get this cutscene of Tails driving the tornado with Sonic just standing on it because he's so fucking cool! He then decides to jump off the tornado mid-fight because he's so fucking cool! And he ends up getting absolutely smashed by Knuckles coming up from the ground, which makes no bloody sense whatsoever, but whatever, I'll just go along with it if it means a good game. Knuckles then steals all of the Chaos Emeralds and proceeds to piss off into no man's land. Yeah, I just have one question about that. Why? Well, I don't know, it's never explained. Maybe Knuckles is just a massive hedgehog racist. There's also a Knuckles story, but to be totally honest, I can't bring myself to play this game twice in a row. It's not that it's a bad game or anything, it's just that it's really fucking long. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. In terms of plot devices, there's still 7 of them, and you still need to go into special stages to get them. But they've changed up the formula of the special stages entirely, and I'll get into that later. That's all well and good, but how's that music? After the absolute bliss that is Sonic 2's soundtrack, my expectations for Sonic 3's soundtrack were pretty high. So imagine my disappointment when the majority of the tracks in this game were really forgettable. Don't get us wrong, the majority of these tracks are quite good pieces of music. A few of my favourites include Hydra City Zone, Ice Cap Zone, Mushroom Hill Zone, and Flying Battery Zone. Unfortunately, maybe this is just a me problem, but I just find most of these tracks totally forgettable. I mean, just take a listen to the Launch Base Zone and tell me with a straight face that you could hum this shit while walking down the street. Probably one of the more interesting introductions to the OST though is the fact that the second act of each zone has a slightly different tune to it. This is an absolutely brilliant addition, I'd say, because it keeps the soundtrack sounding fresh and interesting while not sounding too out of place for the zones. But then there's tracks like Flying Battery Zone Act 2 that make us want to rip my f***ing ears off my head, but we don't talk about that. Now, let's take a gander at the graphics, shall we? Overall, I'd say that the graphics in this game had quite a step up in quality. I mean, just look at the title screen. Holy f***, he's in 3D! Not only does the overall look of the game just look more polished, the Sonic sprite has had a total overhaul, and to be totally honest, I kinda like this new design. The zones themselves also look quite good, with most of the backgrounds being beautifully detailed. Each of the 14 bloody zones. is going to take a while.
Each of the 14 zones have their own unique visual style and music, blah blah blah. If you see more other Sonic videos, it's the same song and dance. The thing that I really love about this game is that the last zone isn't stretched into 3 fucking acts like a certain prequel does! There's also a few one-act endeavours sprinkled in there for some variety.
Well, you get to this point. Sound and graphics are pretty cool, but those are nothing if you don't have good gameplay. So how's that gameplay?
On the surface, not much has been changed in terms of gameplay. You've still got the basic moveset of running, jumping and spin dashing that Sonic 2 made the gold standard. By far the greatest addition to the gameplay, kinda, is a save feature. And all I have to say about this is, yes! F***ing finally! I don't know what took these twats so long to add this feature, but this makes it so much less of a massive pain in the arse. It feels so good knowing that whenever you turn off the Mega Drive after completing a zone, you can come back to it at any point without having to start from the very beginning. All I'm gonna say is, what the f*** was this in Sonic 2, Sega? By far the most obvious addition to the game though, is the introduction of a brand new character who can either be the character you play as, or a little shit who you end up giving a concussion halfway through the game. Playing as Knuckles is a completely different experience to playing as Sonic and or Tails. This is because 1, his moveset is totally different from the 2, giving you the ability to glide through the air for a bit and climb walls. And 2, I've heard that this level design is different for Knuckles to take advantage of his new control style, but to be completely honest, this game is long enough, so I can't really be asked to do it again as a red thing as opposed to a blue thing. So yeah, I never really experienced those changed levels. Not only that, but they've also added a neat little feature to Sonic's moveset. Basically, if you press the jump button in the air, depending on what power-up Sonic has equipped at that point, you perform a special ability. For example, if you don't have a power-up, you'll do a little spin, which I think makes his attack slightly more effective. If you have a bubble shield, you can bounce. With a fire shield, Sonic launches himself forward, basically becoming a very quilly torpedo. The lightning shield allows you to do a double jump, and that's all I can remember off the top of my head. In addition, they all retain their unique abilities from the previous games. So with the bubble shield you can breathe underwater, with the fire shield you're invulnerable to fire-based attacks, so that means you can just stand in the middle of a lava pit with no issues, and the lightning shield attracts rings to you that you're probably going to pick up anyway. But other than this, the basic gameplay is identical to that of the previous entries. Act 1 of each zone is your standard A to B platforming affair with a signpost at the end, but there is a slight difference. That being a mini-boss of sorts at the end of Act 1, and after defeating that, a signpost will fall from the sky. When it falls, you have a chance to jump into it for a bit and bounce it around for a bit. Act 2 is the same, but with a boss at the end and a capsule full of animals. Again, same song and dance if you've seen my previous videos.
With all that said, let's take a dive into each of the zones.
Angel Island Zone. I would say that this is basically Green Hill Zone 3, but it's actually quite unique. There's vines you can swing from, there's plenty of loops, and oh yeah, the fucking zone gets Hiroshima halfway through the first act, holy shit! The mid-boss has you facing off against the bombing robot itself, and it is piss easy, especially with a fire shield. Act 2 more or less just flings you right into the game's mechanical special stages, hidden giant rings. Instead of having to cling on to 50 rings for dear life for the entire act, the special stages are more or less just reduced to a scavenger hunt for giant rings. Angel Island itself has 4 of these rings, which is a f***ing ridiculous thought for someone who's just played Sonic 2. I mean, imagine being over halfway done with the game before even starting the second zone.
That's what you think.
What do you mean?
Oh, you'll see. Ha, ha, ha.
Oh shit.
The end of Act 2 culminates in an airship flying above you while dropping even more bombs on Angel Island. This is just f***ing overkill at this point. I mean, if I sent a robot to engulf an entire island in fire, my next action probably wouldn't be to bomb it even more, because I can already see that the island isn't recovering anytime soon. Then Robotnik himself decides to take a little detour to the hellscape himself in a fire shooting capsule. In regular Sonic fashion, this boss really isn't that hard. Just watch out for the fireballs he shoots out and you'll be golden. After Angel Island, you get a cutscene of Sonic standing over a bridge and Knuckles pressing the buttons, sending us straight into the next zone. Hydro City Zone. A typical war zone. Maybe this is just me, but the underwater controls in this game feel just a smidge better than its predecessors. Maybe Sonic moves a little faster, maybe it's just my brain playing tricks on us, who knows. But all I can say is this zone was certainly tolerable, at least 100 times more tolerable than a certain zone. However, I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't get confused by this zone's level design, because I did a lot. This will become a running theme, by the way, because for some reason it took us fucking ages to complete a single act. Maybe that's just because I'm bad at the game, maybe it's because I'm stupid, or maybe it's because this game just has shit level design in general. I don't know, but I won't pretend that it wasn't frustrating as hell. The mid-boss is this weird ball thing with balls circling around it in a half-pipe arena. What it'll do is it'll swoop down and you basically just have to time your jumps correctly. Not too difficult. Robotnik then appears after Act 2 with a capsule that induces hurricanes. Just don't get sucked into them and you'll be fine. Marble Garden Zone. This zone by far has the most confusing and dog shit level design of any Sonic zone so far. This is probably due to the fact that the zone starts off by sending you careening down a hill at Jesus Christ, slow down! miles an hour. Not only that, but the level design also shifts. Occasionally you run into one of these cockheads. They'll drill into the ceiling, making the entire geometry of the level shift. This is just fantastic for a zone I can barely understand in the fucking first place. There's also these weird spinning top things which will either fling you around the stage at please I don't want to die miles an hour, or just lift you up at a leisurely pace. The mid-boss has a phasing off against the bloody thing that kept shifting the level around earlier. Just avoid the debris and don't jump into the drills themselves and you'll be good. Admittedly, this zone's boss is pretty cool, although it really caught us off guard at first. Robotnik basically drills a floor making it disappear. This makes Tails come along and suddenly gain unlimited stamina as you fight Robotnik in the air. It is a really cool and interesting idea for a boss fight, and one which I ended up dying quite a lot to. Or in reality just rewinding back to when I died and trying again.
God, I love the rewind feature on the Mega Drive collection.
You won't have that when you review the others, remember?
Yeah, I know. That's what terrifies us about that.
Carnival Night Zone. I'd say this is basically a less enjoyable version of Casino Night Zone from Sonic 2. Instead of being flung around by bumpers, you're mostly just running around a fairground, bouncing on balloons and occasionally getting stopped in your tracks by a bumper. The mini-boss takes place on this big floating block. The boss itself is this really weird machine that gradually destroys the ground block by block. It's not that hard to dispatch, but I'd be lying if it wasn't a bit intense.
Act 2 of Carnival Night Zone has the most evil, dubious trap the Robotnik has ever set up for Sonic throughout the entire series. It's so awful and mind-bending that it took us over half an hour to get past. And anyone who's played Sonic 3 knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yep, that's right. The Barrel of Doom.
The Barrel of Doom is a fucking stupid gimmick that appears in the middle of Act 2. So here's the scenario that the game puts you in. A door closes behind you and leaves you trapped in a square-shaped room with naught but a barrel to interact with. Now it's not like the game has left you completely in the dark here. Barrels do appear earlier on in the zone. One of the things you learn from that is that when your tiny button presses correctly, they can bounce you high. So what would you, an intelligent gamer, think to do? I don't know about you, but my first instinct was to bounce up to the top and maybe go up and over to carry on with the stage. But nope, you can't do that. this is a completely enclosed space. Then you realise that every time you jump, the barrel lowers slightly. Your third eye opens as you bounce on the barrel, hoping to get it just low enough to escape, but to no avail. No joke, I spent over half a fucking hour on this measly fucking barrel alone. And you want to see how it's done?
Yep. This is literally it. You just press up and down. How in the unholy mother of biscuits was I meant to figure this out on my own? But is it enough that the gimmick is completely obscure and something that no feasible person can guess? Nope. How about your time would have to be bloody pixel perfect? That's it. Nope, can't take any more. I'm done.
You are not.
Oh, yes, I am, you bitch. Ah.
Not on my watch.
What the fuck just happened?
Reincarnation. You're not going anywhere until you finish our deal.
Fair enough. Alright then. Can I at least have a cuppa first?
Not a problem.
Thank you. Let's get back to it.
Ice Cap Zone. This zone starts off on a pretty high note with the snowboarding section. I'd be the biggest liar ever if I didn't say that was pretty cool. From there, there's not really much to write home about. There's this one section where you need to push this ice block and then jump on it at just the right time so you can ride it and make progress. Otherwise, you'll just keep sliding down for all eternity. Or at least until you run out of time. The mini-boss is this ball with summons snow all around it. Just don't get hit by the snowballs and you'll be alright. I'm pretty sure for the boss of this zone, I just wrecked it immediately with Supersonic. So I'm not too sure what he does for this one. All I know is that there's a platform and there's steam. Launch base zone. To be totally honest, this zone is completely forgettable. So much so that I can barely remember any of it, even when I'm watching footage of it. The mini-boss is this robot with little spiky black balls that it swings around. Avoid them and give it what's what. The boss of this zone, again, I just immediately wrecked it with Supersonic.
Seriously?
Yeah, I mean, come on, after the absolute shithole that was Carnival Night Zone, I just wanted to get this piece of shit over with as soon as possible.
Fair enough.
Bet you're right. Fair enough.
After beating Robotnik, Sonic decides to hijack his capsule and ride it all the way to another boss. This time, Robotnik is in a different robot. With this one, he appears on the left and right sides of the screen, shooting a laser. Avoid the laser, take it out, and there you go, you're officially beating one of the half games in this game. Instead of getting any Lincoln cutscene though, you just sort of unceremoniously dropped into the next zone. Mushroom Hill Zone. This zone is alright. There's a lot of bouncy mushrooms, and that's all I can remember off the top of my head. At the start though, if you're playing as Sonic and or Tails, you get this little cutscene of Knuckles looking extremely sus coming out of a door. So what am I going to do? Of course I'm going to trespass on what may or may not be Knuckles' property. If you've collected all of the Chaos Emeralds at this point, you'll be taken to the Master Emerald. The Chaos Emeralds then decide to do a little dance for a bit and reveal us a new set of plot devices, the Super Emeralds. It's a good thing that these things are a totally optional extra though, because am I gonna go back and collect them? Am I The mid-boss of this is a robot with an axe that shoots logs of wood at you. As you do when you wield an axe. The boss of this zone is really cool. Robotnik more or less just sits in his capsule and as they run through 3D arches. Robotnik doesn't actually directly attack you in his fight. I guess he just banking on the spiky bits of those arches to get you. But ultimately, it fails, bringing you to the next zone. Flying Battery Zone. This zone is really fast paced and I love it. The only not very good part of this zone is the monkey bars that the game forces you to use at certain points. They just feel really jittery to use. I don't know if it's just an emulation problem with the Steam release of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or if it's just me, but I don't really like them. I must say the mid-boss is really creative. It starts off with a capsule, then you go to press the button on it, and it comes to life, and you have to fight it. The most unique part of this fight is that you can't damage the boss directly. What you need to do is you need to trick it into damage itself by standing on top of it, waiting for it to flash, jumping off it, and watching as it bonks itself on the head. Do that a couple more times and it's history. Robotnik's fight is quite unique as well. Act 2's boss begins with you being cornered by this laser. Truth be told, I have no idea how you do this one. I think you're just supposed to avoid the laser enough so that it breaks. I don't know. After that, the floor begins to lift up into the sky to reveal the true boss. This one is weird. Robotnik clings onto the platform with these spiky hand things. Then he swings himself, and that is a moment where you can give him the good old smack. Patience is key with this one, so just take your time and you'll defeat him. Sandopolis Zone. There's a lot of sand, and it has parts where you abseil down buildings, so that's pretty cool. The mid-boss is also quite unique. It's a bit confusing at first though. Basically, it's this rock creature that emerges from a pyramid that emerges from the ground. You basically just need to knock him into a pit of quicksand on the far left. It's a really easy boss, but it is a little bit cryptic. For Act 2, Sonic decides to go into the probably cursed ancient temple. Flawless decision right there, Sonic. In this pyramid, you need to be constantly turning on the light by hanging on these switches. If you don't, after a bit, a turret of ghosts will start flying at you. The boss of this zone sees Robotnik integrate his machines with an ancient statue. This boss is also fairly easy, just don't jump into the spiky chest or arms and you're ground. Lava Wreath Zone. This is more or less just your average mandatory lava level. The main gimmick of this zone is that there's these buttons on the wall that you need to press to open indestructible obstacles. The mini boss is two tentacles with a hand that tries to crush you. Just learn the patterns of the projectiles that they fire and don't get crushed by the hand and you'll be all good. In Act 2, Lava Reef becomes more or less Ice Reef Zone, because I guess we need another ice stage in this game. But it doesn't stay that way for long, because when you face the boss, the Death Egg flashes its eyes and the entire zone sets on fire. You then get auto-scrolled for a bit until you reach a lava fall. At the bottom of this lava fall is where Robotnik will be waiting for you. You can't harm him directly, so don't even try. This is literally just a game of survival, so just do your best to stay out of the lava and let Robotnik destroy himself. Hidden Palace Zone. Well, I'm not too sure how this quote-unquote palace is hidden, because Sonic literally just runs there from Lava Reef Zone without opposition. Anyway, this zone is a one-act affair, at the end of which you'll fight and subsequently give a concussion to Knuckles. It relies on attack patterns, so learn them and kick his ass. After that, you'll then get transported via a laser to the next zone. Sky Sanctuary Zone. This is yet another one-act affair. I'm pretty sure this zone was put here literally just to make you say, oh yeah, I remember Sonic 1 and 2. After these fights, you'll face off against a metallic Sonic. Again, attack patterns. Learn them. Death Egg Zone. We're going back to 2 acts for this one. And I have to say, it's probably one of the best zones in classic Sonic in terms of difficulty scale. It doesn't feel bullshit hard like Scrap Brain Zone from Sonic 1. It doesn't feel just straight up cheap like Metropolis Zone in Sonic 2. I think they just absolutely nailed the difficulty of this one. The mini-boss is, let's just say, interesting. There's an eye that's in a pillar with balls surrounded it, and when you hit it, one of the balls bursts into its spikes, which go in all directions. After all the balls are gone, the eye is freed, and you need to hit it a few more times. This time, with each hit, a laser is fired out of its arse. There's also platforms with spiky bottoms that you need to look out for, but that's about it. After that, Act 2 introduces a gravity flipping mechanic, which is you put a pretty creative use with the boss. Speaking of which, for this one, Robotnik just sort of stands outside of the battlefield controlling this big ball which shoots out these things. The ball itself has a bumper that follows you every move, so if you try and hit it the traditional way, it just sort of bounces you away. The way you beat this is by reversing the gravity, thus making the little things that the ball shoots out vulnerable. You then knock the little things off, subsequently bonking the ball on the head. It's a pretty unique and creative way to use a gravity shifting mechanic in a boss fight. The final boss consists of Robotnik fleeing like a little bitch before hopping into a massive robot. It starts off with Robotnik trying to crush you with the robot's hands, but once you destroy them, the face of the robot itself chases you. The way you damage it is by smacking its nose, revealing the Master Emerald powered laser shooter it has. Bonk that a few times and the robot is history. Oh, but don't you think that it's over just because you beat the robot, because you still need to finish Robotnik off. Never mind the fact that he was literally just inside of an exploding robot a few seconds ago. Also, make sure not to fall off the edge, otherwise you'll have to do this all again.
But that's it, right? For real. Final boss is dead, the world is saved. End the game. Right? Wrong.
If you got at the very least the 7 Chaos Emeralds, you get access to the final zone, Doomsday Zone. I know it's actually called the Doomsday Zone, but that's a stupid name. I'm just going to stick with Doomsday Zone. This zone sees you playing as Supersonic, flying through space while avoiding meteorites. You run into 2 different robotic enemies that you need to fight. There's a blue robot which fires missiles at you which follow you every move, whilst also firing these tiny, barely noticeable little pellets which cause you to spin out of control. The way you defeat this is by guiding the missiles over to its face, making it explode there. After a bit, you then move on to another meteorite belt and then encounter Robotnik?
Wait, do you know that we just blew that truck up a few seconds ago?
The way you defeat this one is by doing a little boost by pressing the jump button and slamming your face into the robot itself. Then finally, the Master Emerald is yours and the game is over.
So to end off this video, I'm going to give a quick fire round about my thoughts on the special stages and comparing them and the entire game to the rest of the games that I've talked about so far. Let's go.
Special stages, I'd say, are the best in the series. While they do somewhat rely on memory, if you have good reflexes, you could feasibly do these without even playing the game beforehand. The object of these is to run around a 3D spherical maze, turning blue spheres into red spheres. The only complaint that I have with these is that in the American version, which I'm assuming is the version put on Steam, these stages go way too fast. I much prefer to do these stages on the PAL version of the game. In that version, the speed is actually horrible.
But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. Overall, I'd say that this game more or less tops the other 2 games in almost every single category. All categories apart from music, I'd say, because Sonic 2 just knocks it out of the ballpark. But in every other aspect, especially difficulty scaling, I'd say that this is a massive improvement over the others. So yeah, that's all for this video. Tune next time when I'll be going over Sonic CD.
No! You're going to review Sonic 1 and 2 for the Master System and Game Gear.
No, I'm gonna be doing Sonic CD.
Nope! You're going to have to do the games in the orders I tell you, nerd.
That was never part of our agreement.
Fair enough. Alright, review Sonic CD.
Yeah, I will. Ah, that's some good tea.